just do breast surgery, so I do the cancer part of surgeries, which includes breast conservation and/or mastectomies, working closely with the plastic surgeon.
Hi, I'm Jan Lesqua. I was diagnosed in the pink month of October 2011. That was a long time ago. I went through a number of great surgeries, infections, reconstruction. Dr. Small has been with me the entire way. I am a year plus out of my last surgery, and I feel great.
I'm Siddhi Small. I'm the Chief of Plastics at the Valley Hospital, and I have a breast reconstruction practice, and I have the best job here because I get to make everyone feel whole again. That's the best. The one thing I wasn't offered was to get my hair done. I just found out.
You look fabulous. I just have to say, Doctor. The guys always get the short end of the stick on that one. Oh, come on. Okay. Thank you very much. All right. So, well, for you, Dr. Small, post-operative infection and general surgical complications do arise with breast reconstruction. You're known for your excellent bedside manner. How do you strike the balance between delivering the facts and comforting your patients?
Well, you have to be honest and forthright and compassionate all at the same time.
Can everyone hear him?
No, give him a mic, please. You know.
And you can hear me.
I said you have to be honest, compassionate, and forthright all at the same time. Reconstructive surgery is not cosmetic surgery, and a lot of patients come in thinking, oh, I'm going to have an implant. My girlfriend had her breasts done. It's the same procedure, and it is completely different. You're working in an operative field that is devascularized, the blood supply has been removed, and that's where all the issues come from. We have many different ways to reconstruct people, and everybody comes to the table with their own issues, and we find the right operation for the right patient at the right time. The best thing about reconstructive surgery, and I'm sure it's the same for the ablative surgery, the removing the tumor part, is my field changes dramatically every 2 years. It completely changes. And you have to stay current. And I always tell patients, if you go to a guy who's been doing it the same way for 20 years, I mean, you should run away because, it constantly is evolving and it's getting less and less invasive. The oncologic surgery is getting less and less invasive. The reconstructive surgery is getting less invasive. And it's just a wonderful, exciting field that's constantly evolving.
Wonderful. So, Dr. Bernick, thank you. Dr. Bernick, how common is it to see a 30-year-old with breast cancer, and when should women begin getting mammograms? Is it case by case, or how much weight does family history have?
So it's not so common to find someone in their 30s or 20s with breast cancer. You know, most breast cancers, probably 70% of breast cancers are in postmenopausal women, so only 30% are in premenopausal women. I actually have a lot of young women in my practice. I don't quite know why, but it's a little bit of a different disease the younger you are, because it's not something you're supposed to be facing when you're in your 20s or 30s. In terms of mammograms, that's a really hot topic right now. The American Cancer Society just changed their recommendations to women, suggesting that women should start having mammograms at the age of 45 instead of 40. I personally think that's a big mistake. A lot of these studies just look at survival. So they're looking and comparing, and we're really good at curing breast cancer now. That's the good news. But the cure is different, or reaching that cure there's a different pathway if you find a tumor when it's really small. So if you do a mammogram and you catch a tumor when it's less than a centimeter, potentially you can avoid chemotherapy. If you wait and you're doing your mammograms later, you have a 3-centimeter tumor, positive lymph nodes. You know what? We still will probably cure you, but now you're going to have chemotherapy, probably more extensive radiation, potentially more mastectomies instead of breast conservation. We like mastectomies though. So it's not only about survival. You can't just look at the bottom line. You have to look at the pathway to get there. So I personally think we're taking a step back And unfortunately, it takes 10, 15, and 20 years to see the impact of this. So,
Why would they change it to go older, do you think?
because there's the problem. So let's look at the downside of mammograms. The downside is there's a lot of false positives. So you do a study, there's a finding, you need a biopsy, you potentially need surgery just to prove something's benign. So there is definitely downside. There's a lot of emotions that go into hearing that there's a problem, and then luckily most of the women will find out that they don't have cancer, but we do find a lot of cancers in younger women. The other issue is that sometimes those biopsies actually give us information which was completely not addressed in the recent changes. So if we find out a woman's high risk, now we can offer chemo prevention. Well, we wouldn't know that before. We potentially can eliminate the chance of a breast cancer in that patient altogether by giving them a drug that prevents cancer. We also increase screening. So we're going to lose a lot of information. And you know what? You're looking at women in the most vital time of their lives. They're young. They have young children. I really was a little upset, more than a little upset with the recommendations. So.
Well, in keeping with this, Doctor, Victoria, I'd like you to answer this if you could, please. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay. You were quoted in USA Today about Reconstruction by saying, in a way, mentally and physically, it fixed me. It fixed me. When you were diagnosed, you feel broken, that you and your breasts will never be the same. But there is sort of a rebirth after chemo and reconstruction. Tell us about the rebirth, please.
Well, first, she saved me. I never thought that I would have breast cancer. I was 30 years old. I had no family history of the disease. And, getting a mastectomy, in the abstract was something where it's, oh, sure. But once it happened, I was like, wow, this is a lot. And to have the reconstruction, it really put back my youth. It made me feel young and beautiful again. I know it sounds so corny, but I remember walking out of the hospital after one of my many reconstruction surgeries. And I remember I crossed the street with my head high, and my partner was like, "What are you doing? There's a car there." And I was like, "I'm just so gorgeous." But I really felt I was ashamed, and then I had this transformation where I was the hottest woman in the world, and so yeah, it was I always say that Dr. Bernick, she saved me. She took the cancer out, and then Dr. Lerman, my plastic surgeon, he put me back together again. And it was it was a transformation. It really was, and it was something that I didn't realize. I used to when I first had my mastectomy, I used to open the blinds during the morning and sit there and without anything on my chest. And I remember right after my first reconstruction surgery, I was opening the blinds and covering my chest and it was they were my breasts. They weren't some foreign object. Yeah. So it was a rebirth. They were new to me, but they were mine.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Jan, if you could pass the mic right over to Jan, please. So you went through a few reconstructing, there were some complications with infection. How has your coping style changed, if at all, since initial diagnosis?
Okay, so my husband might disagree with what I'm about to say, but I have realized that I'm not in control anymore. So, I am no longer in control. I had to give that up, although I still pretend I'm in control. I know that I'm not in control and that things happen for no reason. I went vegan for a year. because I thought maybe that would help me stay away from further infection and suffer through that, and it didn't help. So, but I did end up whole. I have beautiful girls. They seem to like each other now. My name is Jan Lee Lesqua. They are Jan and Lee. So I would say that I'm not in control. I look for the silver linings in every difficult situation because I know that they're there. I'm a different person now. I have gratitude. I realize how much my friends and family have been there for me. And I am a different person. So.
So you have a very unique ability. I've heard this from a couple of people about your work, to truly make women feel whole again, like you've done with Jen, even after breast cancer surgery and treatment. Discuss how you treated Jen as well as her final results, please.
I love Jan. We had a long history together. I'd like to think that treat everyone the same, and I'm deeply vested with my patients. I love what I do. I take it very seriously, and to hear these stories of Dr. Lerman, who's a friend of mine, I mean, I'm sure I can't wait to tell him when I see him this weekend that, I mean, it's great to have patients say these wonderful things about the way they feel about themselves, and you were the guy that had a part of it. I mean, that's just wonderful. So I love what I do, and I think that just really makes a difference because it's something that I really enjoy doing. So I treat Jan, I hope I treat everybody. We had a rough course together at times, but I know what I tell people, I know what it's going to be like 20 years from now. Right now, patients are thinking, I want this done next week or 2 weeks. My job as the reconstructive surgeon is to think 10 years down the road for you, because I know you're going to be there, and I have to understand you have to let control and let me have some control and tell you, manage a course, because we're going to get there. It's just going to take some time, and a lot of what we do. Now, I'm the son of a psychiatrist, and my father hates hearing when I say I could do more 2 hours with a knife than he could do 20 years on the couch. I think a lot of what I do is therapy. No, but
Compassion. The word compassion has come up with you.
It's involved because it's something that really is I'm committed to.
Thank you. So Victoria was very young when she was diagnosed with breast cancer. You've been quoted recently in the press about chemotherapy impacting fertility in young breast cancer patients. Tell us about Victoria's decision to freeze her eggs prior to starting chemotherapy.
I think that's great because you don't know what's going to happen with chemotherapy. They are having better success with fertility returning after chemotherapy. There's been new developments, as we were talking about. Things change year to year, months to months sometimes. But as long as you feel that it's okay with your beliefs, I think freezing eggs or embryos is very important. Just for the future, you want to at least have a backup plan if you can't get pregnant on your own.
Yes, absolutely. I know that we have a fashion show. I know that we have some questions in the audience, but before we do that, what I'd like to do is I'd like you to each one of you, share what you feel either about this moment right now, of your opportunity to share with everyone here, or what has really motivated you to be able to speak out publicly as a journalist, as a survivor, as well as in your own fields and in your own lives. Could you just give us a few thoughts and comments that you could part us with, please, before questions and answers?
Sure. I did want to touch on what Bernick said about freezing eggs and embryos, and I think that was one thing as a young survivor that I had no idea that would impact, that cancer would impact that part of my life. I knew that I was giving up my breast, but I didn't know that I was giving up my fertility and the opportunity to be a mother. And that shook me to my core. And I think for me personally, as a journalist and just as a breast cancer thriver, you know, I love talking with young women and being a part of this young community, because people don't know that you know, it could impact your fertility. There are so many different things that kind of come into play when you're a young survivor that you know, the standard of care doesn't really touch. And I want to change that one day, hopefully, you know, and with a bunch of other people. And so yeah, I think, you know, just, you know, I guess what I want to leave people here with today is that, you know, we're here and we're a growing community for whatever reason, and don't ignore us. You know, I think, you know, that was the one thing that I had trouble with in the beginning. I'm a very outspoken person, but I think people were like, "Oh, you don't have cancer? There's no way. That lump? Oh, your mother doesn't have cancer in her family. Your dad doesn't have cancer in her family. There's no way there could be cancer." And it's like, that's not the case. So don't ignore us. We're here, and we're here to stay. And thanks.
I was just talking about this earlier today. You know, I don't know what really led me down the path exactly to become a breast cancer surgeon. You know, I trained in general surgery. One of the residents ahead of me told me, "You should really think about breast surgery." She was going into it. And I thought about it. I never thought I wanted to do a field with just women. And then, you know, with time I knew I wanted to be a specialist, and it made more sense because, you know, you really develop a relationship with the patient. That's what I think is missing in a lot of fields of surgery. You know, it's in and out. You know, you do your appendectomy, as we were talking about, and then you see the patient once and then that's it. With breast cancer patients, you know, you really develop a relationship. Like, I love Victoria. I mean, I love her. Who wouldn't? But that's the kind of relationship you want to have, and honestly, that's why I do it, because of relationships like this, because you know, you get a lot out of that, and it's my privilege to help patients like you. I mean, really, that's how I feel. I'm so lucky.
We're lucky to have you. So just closing, you know, when Kelly and Melissa approached me to do this, I have been, I'm kind of like the kind of forge ahead, take the next step, get over it, keep going. And I put my journey down on paper, and this is really 4 years later. And I cried. I really didn't cry, like, through that whole thing, except when I had to start reconstruction again, I did cry, because I missed a really great party because of it. So when I put this all on paper and I saw my journey, I did cry more than I ever cried before, and I think it was meant to be. Thank you, Kelly, for, it did a lot for me. It just really made me understand, and I'm whole, and I'm really good right now, and I have so much more empathy and understanding. I think women are incredible. I think the men that are with them are incredible, and thanks for the opportunity, Kelly.
I just wanted to say a couple of last things. First of all, Dr. Burdick said, I think it's true. I think there are few fields in medicine, and surgery in particular, where you develop a relationship with the patients. And with breast cancer and breast reconstruction, I sometimes say the patients see me more than they see anybody else. So that's the good thing about breast reconstruction in general. As far as Kelly goes, it's just wonderful to see this great work that's going on, and it's great to know that the service is there. I know I've sent patients to, and all of them very satisfied, so it's just wonderful to see, so thank you.
So we are going to pass the microphone around for a couple of questions, because we have a delicious, yummy buffet behind us over here waiting. But I know that this is a wonderful opportunity. If you have a question for any one of our panelists, this is your time. This is your moment. Anyone with a question? Oh, yes. Hold on 1 second, please.
I have a burning question for the physicians. 12 years ago, when I was diagnosed, they didn't seem to be running the BRCA gene blood test as routinely as they seem to be now. When I interview most of my breast cancer patients, every single one of them have been tested for the BRCA gene, where 12 years ago, not so much. Is testing for the BRCA1, BRCA2, either Dr. Small or Dr. Burnett can answer this question, is this now a routine procedure in most of the cases?
So
There are general recommendations for breast cancer, for BRCA screening. In fact, recently the screening goes beyond just BRCA. We're screening for actually more genes than that. We screen it, the recommendations from the oncological societies is that anyone who is diagnosed with breast cancer at the age of 50 and below should be offered testing. Not everyone does it. And usually it's unlikely that you'll find a gene if there's no family history, but sometimes we're surprised. For the BRCA gene in particular, if there's a lot of men in the family, not too many women, the gene can be there and you won't see the expression with breast cancer patients. Plus it's only a 50-50 chance that you'll pass that gene on. So if you're in a family of 1 girl and 4 boys, you may know, no one may have breast cancer if it came from the father's side. The important thing to know though is that men should get screened too, because there's an increased risk of prostate cancer and possibly pancreatic cancer, slight increased risk of colon cancer, melanoma. There are other cancers that go along with being a genetic carrier. We also offer it to people that have very strong family history of breast cancer. So if someone's older, they have someone that has bilateral breast cancer, 2 cancers, not that far apart, those people get screened as well. And plus a history of breast and ovarian cancer and 1st and 2nd degree relatives.
Did you want to cover it? Okay. Now don't be shy.
Right there.
Oh, yes, hold on 1 second. Let me... Wow.
I know that breast cancer is normally a woman's disease, but I have 2 in my family, my father and my brother, that had breast cancer. So why don't they do testing on men just as well as the women?
So we do, when you have, that was actually another reason to get tested for the gene if there's a male in the family with breast cancer. So they say 1 in 100 cases of cancer is a male. I haven't either. So that to me seems a little high. I think it's much less than that. I haven't treated too many men. I've treated some, but not that many, probably 1 a year. It's a little easier to detect in a man because there's not a lot of breast tissue, so usually there's a lump, and you work it up, and that's how you find it. It's a little easier to find because it's not hidden in a big breast.
Yeah, they have the inverted nipple.
So we don't screen men because the risk of a breast cancer in the male population is just so low in general. But certainly any mass should not be ignored in a male, because breast cancer in men does happen.
One more question? Well, you must be hungry. Okay. I want to thank this wonderful conversation for taking place and our incredible panel. Please, a round of applause for our wonderful, generous panel of their time. And beautiful comments. Thank you so much. So everybody, at this time, I'd like to invite everyone to enjoy this wonderful dinner that we can all smell. It's all delicious. It smells great. And it's being served tonight. So also, I'd like to remind you that the raffle tickets will be available until 8:30, so get them while you can. Thank you all very, very much for your generous donations to the Triple Negative Breast Cancer Foundation. Enjoy dinner, everybody.